So the title and the code of the course is already Geography of Ethiopia and the Horn. So this course already organized to be covered within 48 hours with 3 credit hours per week. In this course, 8 chapters are already listed, and the PDF format of the course is organized by 168 pages. Here, the objective of the course is already listed in the course, in the module that we use for the teaching learning process. So if it is necessary, just the first topic of the course is already focus upon the shape, location, and size of our country. And it tries to explain the physical environment, socio-economic and political aspects. So at the end of the course, students will be able to know the exact location of their country, the shape, the size, according to already the current situations also. Elaborates the major geological events, the resultant landforms and mineral resources of Ethiopia and the Horn. Identifies the major drainage systems and water resources of Ethiopia and their implications for regional development and integration. Develop and understand of the climate of Ethiopia, its dynamics and implications on the livelihood of their inhabitants. The problem in this course is some topics are interrelated, but they are divided into chapters. For example, chapter 4 and chapter 3 are similar, and they are affected to each other. So it's better to be merged. And most of geographical, so my recommendations are already our recommendation, as we discussed with my friends. Most of geographic components are already dynamic. For example, population is very dynamic. So the module must be updated regularly. Instructors should have to be used the name and code of the course carefully and correctly when they prepare exams, tests, and so on. Even when we teach in the class, just we have to be used the course code as well as the course name. As I told you before, units 3 and 4 are strongly related, and one affects the other. So they have to be merged. The module of the course is very vast. It's difficult to cover it in the given period of time because some chapters are already given as an independent course in universities. For example, population geography is one course, economical geography, map reading are already given in universities independently. So it's difficult to cover the module in the short period of time or in the given 48 hours. Important materials and references must be included in the module. Finally, the module of the course is very vast. It must be evaluated and rearranged again by the concerned bodies. Thank you. This is for geography.
About the physical fitness course review. Physical fitness has a name of physical fitness, and sometimes we use physical fitness and conditioning, okay, in some situations. The course code is SPSC 1011. There is no problem on the course code in physical fitness, and the objective of this course is just to understand the benefits of physical fitness activities, to prevent the risk of hypokinetic conditions. There are plenty of hypokinetic conditions at the current time, the world. Here is the problem. The first problem is topic redundancy. As an example, there are some redundancies in Unit 3 about nutrients, macro and micronutrients are written 2 times in one unit. Okay, this is an example for the problem inside the module. There is an old citation. Science can be modified based on different facts or different findings. So the course was expected to use the current outcome, okay, the current findings in the area. But unfortunately, the course authors used the different old citations. This is one problem. The mode of course delivery means the course was expected to be delivered theoretically and practically. But in fact, this course is delivered, going to be delivered with theoretical mode of delivery. The other and most significant problem in this course is the grading system. The course is delivered as a freshman course like the other courses, but the grading system is pass and fail. This is all I have for you, and thank you very much.
Whether there are some sorts of key terms and glossary, either in the middle, at the beginning of each chapter, or at the end of the chapter or the course in general, and issues of assessment, the assessment methods, the kinds of tools used to assess and to facilitate students were taken as what? Most important criteria. When it comes to the module structure, as I said earlier, there are 5 chapters, and all the chapters have introduction. There are competencies or chapter objectives, module objective, chapter objective. There are in-text questions and brainstorming questions. There are cases and examples, especially in chapter 2. There are chapter summaries, self-questions, assessment questions, except chapter 1, which doesn't have any. The other chapters have, and there are also references at the end of each chapter. When it comes to the chapter introduction, module and chapter introduction, as I said, there are introductions in all the chapters at the same time. At the beginning of the module, there is module introduction. They are clear and easily understandable, but sometimes they appear being incomplete. They are complete, they sometimes are too short. The most important part in terms of making ethical decisions and moral judgments is nothing is stated. No objective of to represent normative ethics, teleological, deontological, and virtue ethics. This is the most important part of the unit, but you don't have the objective at the beginning of the chapter. Chapter 4, there is no content about unitarism and federalism, as I said, but it is there in the objective. No content about Ethiopia's federal model, that is, it's no linguistic federalism, but it is there in the objective. No content about government types and systems. Say we follow presidential, parliamentary democracy. Is it ideal? And if you ask me, to Ethiopia, maybe I might have a number of issues to explain and to challenge that system. But the citizens need to know the difference between or among the different systems of government. Nothing is stated, but it's there in the objective. The next one, gaps under the 5th chapter, sequencing of objectives. No objective about the purpose of constitution. No objective about the instruments and institutions of human rights. No objective and content about challenges and prospects of democratization process in Ethiopia. And no criteria evaluation, critical evaluation about constitutionalism, human rights, and democratization in Ethiopia. So what I believe here is the contents are there, but they are all theoretical. And of course, theory doesn't make a difference unless and otherwise it is implemented in a life situation. There are, most of the terms and concepts in the course are originated from Latin and Greek. They are sometimes difficult to comprehend. So there was supposed to be some sort of keywords and key terms in a glossary. There is nothing. Assessment, congress between assessment and objectives, poorly integrated. Actually, there are in brainstorming questions. There are in-text questions. They are good actually. When you come to self-assessment questions at the end, they are not directly related with the objectives. We believe that these questions are meant to help students assess themselves in accordance with the objectives that are listed at the beginning, but there is no integration. In terms of diversity, as I said, in-text questions and brainstorming questions are there. Self-assessment questions, there are, except Unit 1, but all are subjective. There is no true, for example, no objective item at all. And I believe that these subjective items are subjectives, as the name itself implies, and maybe any student can reflect to any of these questions in any way that he feels and understands, and that doesn't mean that the expected learning outcomes are able to be achieved in such a situation. So lack objective questions. Adequacy and representativeness, inadequate. For the entire unit, having 5 or 10 subjective type of questions, I don't believe that it is adequate to help students see themselves as to how they are performing well. Are they representative? No. So that is one. And answer key? No answer key actually for all the questions. Here is a screenshot of Unit 5. These are the self-check exercises. Some surprise. Say for example, it starts from question number 6. So I don't know where question 1 through 5 are gone. So starting from 6, it ends at 11. And all Unit 5 is about democracy, constitution, and human rights. So you have 3 sections under this unit, but all these questions are about human rights. And it is said to be what? Self-check exercise. So you don't have what? Questions asking students about what constitution and related concepts, and also questions about democracy and related concepts. So there are such kinds of gaps. So what do you conclude, Kalacho? Objectives are not completely stated, mismatch between objectives stated and contents presented. Some contents are not in the objectives, and others some contents are not, objectives are not in the contents. No key terms and glossaries. Self-assessment questions are all subjective and not representative and sufficient enough to help students understand their position. Recommendation needs improvement, revision. So that is what I have.
Thank you. I am here lastly because the module is already revised. So just tell you some points. Our course is Social Anthropology, course code NTH 1012. So here are some outlines: naming and coding of the course, objectives, content summary, problems and recommendations. When you come to the naming and coding of the course, the module says anthropology, and we are delivered in the name of social anthropology. And the distance use anthropology of Ethiopian society. So here there are 3 namings. So first let's see the meaning. What's anthropology? It's the study of humanity in general. Okay, social anthropology, it's one subfield of anthropology. So which one is appropriate for this module? It's the major question, I think. So I think this question is open for discussion later. When you come to the objectives of the course is expected to make aware students with essential concepts of anthropology, covering a wide array of questions resolving around our very existence. It covers issues like what makes human beings similar to each other, how do we differ one another, what do anthropologists mean when they talk about diversity, multiculturalism, marginalization, inclusion, and exclusion. Also, the module has 7 chapters. It includes the scope, introduction, the scope of the subject matter, culture, kinship, marriage, cultural relativism, ethnocentrism, humanity and human origins, race, ethnicity, ethnic relation, ethnic boundaries, marginalization, minorities, local system of governance, legal pluralism, and indigenous knowledge system. These are the course contents. So students were expected the student will be able to grasp from this course, develop an understanding of the nature of anthropology and its broader scope, understand the cultural and biological diversity of human and what makes human, analyze the problems of ethnocentrism and the concept of cultural relativism. This is the major one. Realize the socially constructed nature of identity in social categories such as gender, ethnicity, race, and sexuality. When you see the content summary, here there are scope of anthropology, branches of anthropology, unique features of anthropology, and research method in anthropology, delivery methods. The instructor who is assigned to deliver this course recommended to make use of different active learning methods because the course by itself is very interactive. So the instructor should be active first, then the course would be interactive. It includes brainstorming, question and answer, group discussion is important here. Crossover homeworks, reading assignments, peer teaching is important for the course social anthropology. When we see the problem in the module lacks examples in Ethiopian context. Hence, Ethiopia is multicultural country and Addis Ababa is multicultural city. So we have lots of examples in Ethiopia context, but it lacks, the module lacks examples in Ethiopia context, even if the Ministry of Education revised the module again. But still, the problems exist. There are sensitive concepts like ethnicity and race. So how can the teacher deliver these issues in the class? Race is sensitive by itself, and ethnicity now, it's a sensitive issue. So I think it needs discussion. Most of the definition is not updated. Hence, there are lots of definitions in the world, but it's not updated. For example, we can take marriage and gender identity. So from a different perspective, I think revise መደረግ አለበት. There are concepts that must be included in the module briefly. Examples, variation. Instead of race, we can incorporate variation. So these are some problems in the revised module. Recommendation, it should incorporate examples, as I said before, give solution for the delivery of teaching learning on the sensitive concepts, and incorporate concepts and definition from different perspectives, international and local contexts. So this is all about social anthropology. Thank you.